Unbelievable. To think a place like this actually exists on Earth. These were the whispered words of a British woman visiting Singapore. Her name was Eleanor, a history teacher in her late 30s. She had arrived in the Lion City with her two closest friends, Charlotte and Olivia. However, before their departure from London, they had harbored deep, cynical suspicions about their destination. Isn't Singapore just a sterile concrete jungle? They say it's a fine city punishing you for everything. No soul, just rules. It's like a nation of robots following a standard operating procedure. Efficient, sure, but is there any heart, any grit, any real human connection? With these judgments firmly planted in their minds, they stepped onto the immaculate floors of Changi Airport. Yet, what they witnessed during their stay would completely dismantle their worldview. By the end of the journey, soaking in the view from a rooftop infinity pool, the three of them would look up at the tropical night sky and find themselves weeping. We knew nothing, absolutely nothing. What was it about this small island nation that changed them so profoundly? Let us uncover their journey. Living in the bustling, often grey metropolis of London, the three friends, Eleanor, Charlotte, and Olivia, had a ritual. Every Sunday, they would gather at a cozy, slightly worn-down pub in Kensington. Eleanor taught history. Charlotte was a senior nurse at a busy NHS hospital, and Olivia ran a charming, if somewhat chaotic, independent bookshop. For them, this Sunday pub time, filled with banter, complaints about the weather, and laughter, was their sanctuary. One rainy Sunday, as they nursed their pints and teas, Olivia pulled out her smartphone. "Look at this," she said, turning the screen towards them. It displayed a breathtaking image. The super trees of Gardens by the Bay glowing against a purple sky, the futuristic Marina Bay sands, and pristine streets lined with rain trees. "My cousin sent me photos of her business trip to Singapore. It looks perfect," Olivia mused. "Too perfect," Eleanor scoffed, peering over her spectacles. "It looks like a film set, or a computer simulation." "We haven't been on a holiday together in ages," Charlotte sighed, looking out at the drizzle dampening the London pavement. "I'm burnt out. The hospital is chaos. I need sun." A silence settled over the table, broken only by the clinking of glasses. Then, Olivia spoke slowly. "Why don't we just go? To Singapore? Are you mad?" Eleanor raised an eyebrow. "It's practically a police state, isn't it? Chewing gum is illegal. Everyone is obsessed with money and status." "I am serious," Olivia insisted. "Instead of sitting here moaning about the rain and our monotonous routines, don't you want to see something different? Even if it is robotic, at least it will be warm." "I suppose I often wonder why I'm working myself to the bone," Charlotte admitted, rubbing her temples. "I need a break from the chaos." Eleanor sighed, defeated. "Fine, let's plan it, but don't expect any eat, pray, love spiritual awakenings. It's going to be a shopping trip in a climate-controlled mall." "Agreed," the others laughed. From that day on, they began researching Singapore. But the more they read, the more their British skepticism grew. One evening, back at the pub, Eleanor read aloud from her tablet. "Listen to this blog. Singaporeans are efficient, but transactional. Interactions are brief. They call it being kiasu, fear of missing out, and competitive. Everyone is rushing. So, they are fake?" Charlotte frowned. "Just polite, because they have to be? And look here," Olivia added, scrolling through a forum. "Long working hours, high stress. They don't have time for small talk or banter. It says they are emotionally reserved." "Great," Eleanor rolled her eyes. "So, no banter, no genuine warmth, just SOPs, robots. A place with no soul," Charlotte sighed. "In the UK, we might be grumpy, but at least we are real. We complain, we laugh, we connect through our shared misery. If Singapore is just smiling robots, that's not human." "Well, the flights and the Heritage Hotel are booked," Olivia said grimly. Just then, Charlotte's phone rang. It was her friend, Fatima, who had traveled extensively. "Charlotte, darling, how are you?" "Fatima, quick question. You've been to Singapore, haven't you?" "Yes, about 3 years ago." "Why?" "We are going." "What's the verdict?" Charlotte asked, putting the phone on speaker. Fatima's tone shifted. "Singapore. Well, it is safe. Incredibly safe." "That's good," Charlotte said. "But," Fatima continued, "don't expect deep conversations with strangers at the bus stop. It's not like the local pub here where everyone chats. People keep to themselves. It's very functional, clean. Rules for everything. Don't expect a warm hug from the city. Charlotte's face fell. Just as we thought. However, Fatima added brightly, the food is world-class, and you can walk alone at 3 a.m. without fear. Just go for the food and the safety. Don't expect soul. After hanging up, the three looked at each other. Well, a week of safety and good food isn't the worst thing, Olivia shrugged. We'll just observe the robots in their natural habitat, Eleanor joked dryly. A place without banter, without messiness. I can't imagine we'll feel much love there. And so, harboring these strong prejudices, the three British women landed at Changi Airport on a humid November morning. As the airlock hissed open, Eleanor muttered, "Welcome to the land of sops." Walking through the terminal, they were immediately struck by the silence. The carpets absorbed the sound of footsteps. The air was cool and scented with orchids. Staff members bowed slightly or nodded efficiently as they directed passengers. "See? Clockwork," Olivia whispered. "But polite." "It's their job," Eleanor dismissed. They arrived at the immigration hall. It was vast, yet the lines moved with startling speed. In the UK, they were used to chaotic queues and grumbling travelers. Here, it was a silent ballet of efficiency. Suddenly, they noticed a young mother struggling ahead of them. She had a toddler screaming in a pram and two massive suitcases that kept tipping over. She was blocking the flow, looking panicked. "Here we go," Charlotte whispered. In London, someone would have tutted loudly by now. Before the thought finished, an airport officer in a crisp uniform materialized. He didn't just point or shout instructions. He stepped in, gently took control of the sliding suitcases, and spoke softly to the mother. He pulled a sticker from his pocket, a cartoon character, and handed it to the crying toddler, who went silent in awe. He then escorted them to a priority lane. That was fast, Olivia blinked. Probably in the manual, Eleanor noted cynically. Subsection 4, handling disruptive infants to maintain throughput. After clearing immigration, which took all of 10 minutes, they went to the baggage claim. The belts were already moving. Eleanor spotted her heavy vintage trunk. She stepped forward to heave it off, but misjudged the weight. She stumbled, and the heavy trunk began to tip back toward her toes. In a split second, a hand shot out. A Singaporean man in a business shirt, who had been looking at his phone, dropped his device and caught the trunk. He effortlessly swung it onto her trolley. "Careful there," he said briskly. "Heavy." "Oh, thank you so much," Eleanor stammered. But the man simply gave a curt nod, picked up his phone, and vanished into the crowd. No waiting for praise. "No, you're welcome, love. Just action and exit." "What was that?" Eleanor stood frozen. "He didn't even smile," Charlotte noted. "Just fixed the problem and left." "Efficient altruism," Olivia guessed. "Maybe there's a fine for blocking the belt." "Must be," Eleanor agreed, though a seed of doubt had been planted. They took a taxi to their hotel in the Chinatown district. The driver was quiet, the roads were lined with perfectly manicured trees, and the skyline was impossibly futuristic. They checked into a beautiful heritage shophouse hotel on Keong Saik Road. At the front desk, a man named Mr. Tan, looking sharp in a suit, greeted them. "Welcome to Singapore, Miss Eleanor, Miss Charlotte, Miss Olivia. Long flight from Heathrow, I presume?" He didn't make small talk about the weather. Instead, he worked rapidly on the computer. "I have reviewed your pre-arrival forms." He looked up. "Miss Eleanor, you are a historian? I have taken the liberty of marking the Battlebox Tour and the National Museum on this map. It covers the British surrender in World War II, very relevant to your field." He handed a map to Charlotte. "Miss Charlotte, you work in healthcare. There is a traditional Chinese medicine hall nearby that has been operating for 80 years. They explain the herbs very well. I thought you might find the contrast interesting." He turned to Olivia. "And Miss Olivia, you like botany and books? The Botanic Gardens has a rare orchid hybrid blooming this week. Also, there is a specialized bookstore in Tiong Bahru I have circled." The three women stared at him. They had barely filled out the occupation field on the online check-in weeks ago. "You prepared this for us?" Charlotte asked, stunned. "Did you Google us? We like our guests to make the most of their time." Mr. Tan smiled a genuine, albeit brief, smile. "Efficiency allows for enjoyment. Please, rest well." They walked to the lift in silence. "That was impressive," Olivia admitted. "Borderline creepy," Eleanor countered, though she was clutching the map tightly, "but useful." They entered their room. It was spotless. The air conditioning was set to the perfect ambient temperature. On the bed, 3 towels were folded into the shape of British bulldogs. Beside them was a handwritten note. "We know you are far from home. A little touch of Britain to keep you company. Welcome to Singapore. Housekeeping team." "They folded bulldogs," Charlotte whispered, touching the towel. "That takes time. That's not efficient. Maybe they expect a tip?" Olivia suggested. "Tipping isn't the culture here," Eleanor corrected. "So, why?" "I don't know," Charlotte murmured. "It's strange. No hugs, no hello darling, but they noticed us." The next morning, they ventured into the MRT system. It was rush hour. The station was packed, yet eerily silent. No one was eating, drinking, or talking loudly. "It's like a library on wheels," Eleanor observed. "So repressed." They were trying to decipher the colorful map to find their way to Katong. They looked confused. A young man wearing headphones looked up from his game, saw their confusion, and immediately stood up. He tapped Eleanor's shoulder, pointed to the green line on the map, and then pointed to the platform across. "Change at Paya Lebar," he said succinctly. Then he sat back down. Succinct, Eleanor noted. Later, wandering the colorful Peranakan shophouses of Katong, they were mesmerized by the intricate tiles, but quickly became disoriented in the maze of small lorries. The tropical heat was intensifying, and they were sweating profusely. An elderly woman, a ñoña, dressed in a floral kebaya, was watering her plants outside a shop. She watched them turning their map upside down. "Ayo," she exclaimed, putting down her watering can. "Where you girls trying to go? Look like melting ice cream already." Her English was accented, peppered with local slang. "We are looking for the famous laksa place." Olivia wiped her forehead. The auntie shook her head. "That one tourist trap. Very long queue. Not the best." She beckoned them with a wave of her hand. "Come, come. I show you the real one." "Oh, you don't have to," Eleanor started. "Walking is good exercise. Come." The auntie started walking briskly. As they followed her through the back alleys, she asked, "From UK, ah?" "Yes, London," Charlotte replied. The auntie smiled, revealing gold teeth. "UK. Long time ago, my father worked for the British. Clerk. Strict, but good system." She chuckled. "Singapore learned a lot from the British, but we added our own flavor. Like laksa. Mix Chinese, mix Malay, mix everything together." She stopped in front of a humble, open-air coffee shop, Kopi Tiam, with a ceiling fan spinning lazily. "This one. 328's neighbor. Better gravy." She then reached into her tote bag and pulled out a small plastic bag of green, bowl-shaped sweets coated in coconut. "This is onde onde, my homemade one. Inside is gula melaka palm sugar. Put in mouth, bite, and the sweet juice explode. Good for the heat." She pressed the bag into Charlotte's hand. "Why are you so kind to us?" Eleanor asked, baffled. "We are strangers." The auntie looked surprised by the question. "You are guests in my country. If guests get lost and hungry, disgrace to the host, right? Singapore, small place. We must look after each other." She waved her hand dismissively at their thanks. "Eat the laksa. Don't wear white shirt. Splash curry later." And with a cackle, she walked away. The three sat down, stunned, holding the bag of sweets. "She walked 10 minutes out of her way," Olivia said, "and gave us her homemade sweets. That wasn't robotic," Charlotte noted softly. "That was maternal. A bit bossy, but maternal." After a spicy, life-affirming meal of laksa, they needed a restroom. They found one in a nearby shopping mall. Eleanor walked into the cubicle and gasped. "What is it?" Charlotte called out. "The toilet!" Eleanor shouted back. It greets me." The seat was heated. There was a bidet control panel with more buttons than a spaceship. Outside, there was a digital screen. "Rate your toilet experience." "It's spotless," Charlotte said, washing her hands at a sensor-activated sink that dispensed soap, water, and air from the same tap. In London, public loos are a hazard zone. To maintain this level of cleanliness, Olivia mused, looking at the cleaning attendant who was meticulously wiping a mirror. It requires constant, invisible effort. It's about dignity, Charlotte realized. They treat the basic human need with dignity. It's not just rules, it's care. That evening, they visited the small restaurant recommended by Mr. Tan, the concierge. It was a heritage kitchen run by Chef Uncle Lim. He served them Hainanese chicken rice. It looked simple, just boiled chicken and white rice. "Enjoy," Uncle Lim said. Eleanor took a bite. Her eyes widened. The rice was fragrant, with ginger, garlic, and pandan. The chicken was silky, dissolving in her mouth. "How does it taste like this?" Eleanor asked Uncle Lim when he came by. "It looks so plain." Uncle Lim sat down, wiping his hands on a towel. "Chicken rice looks simple, but to make it right, hard work." He pointed to the kitchen. "The stock boils for 6 hours. The rice must be fried in chicken fat before cooking. The chili sauce? I pound the garlic and chili by hand every morning at 4 a.m. No machine. Machine cuts the fibers wrong. Hand pounding keeps the soul." 4 a.m.? Olivia gasped. "Efficiency is good," Uncle Lim nodded. "But for things you love, you must waste time. You must give your life to it. Singaporeans, we rush, rush, rush. But when it comes to food, we wait. We queue for 1 hour for good food. Because the food is the chef's heart on a plate." Eleanor felt a lump in her throat. "So, the rules, the systems, they exist, so we have space to do this." Uncle Lim tapped the table. "Structure protects the passion." "We thought you were just about efficiency," Eleanor admitted shamefully. Uncle Lim laughed. "We are. But why are we efficient? So we can go home to family. So we can eat good food. We don't hug in the street like Westerners. We ask, 'Have you eaten?' That is our 'I love you.'" The final epiphany came on their last night. They went to gardens by the bay. They lay on the ground beneath the super trees, massive, man-made vertical gardens towering into the sky. As the Garden Rhapsody light and sound show began, music swelled, and the trees erupted in dancing lights. It was spectacular, but what struck them was the context. They were surrounded by hundreds of people, locals, tourists, families sitting in harmony. No pushing, no drunkenness, just a shared appreciation of beauty in a city that had built a garden out of reclaimed land. They thought of the airport staff who helped the mother, the concierge who mapped their passions, the auntie who guided them in the heat, Uncle Lim pounding chilies at 4 a.m. "We were so arrogant," Eleanor whispered, tears pricking her eyes as the opera music reached a crescendo. "We called them robots," Charlotte wiped a tear. "We thought because they don't engage in loud banter or public displays of affection, they were cold. But looking after strangers, creating a safe city, making sure the food is perfect, keeping the toilets dignified." Olivia's voice trembled. "That is a language of love we didn't speak. It's acts of service. They don't say, 'I love you' with words," Eleanor realized. "They say it by anticipating your needs before you even know you have them. It's a silent, humble love." "I don't want to go back to the chaos," Charlotte sobbed quietly. "I feel so cared for here." The next day, as they checked out, Mr. Tan was there. "I hope you had a fruitful stay?" "It was. Life-changing," Eleanor said, and she meant it. "Thank you for the map. It was perfect." "My pleasure," Mr. Tan nodded. "Safe travels." On the train to Changi, they looked out at the passing HDB flats, the green trees, the clean streets. They didn't see a sterile dystopia anymore. They saw a home built with painstaking care. Back in the UK, the three friends changed. Eleanor, the teacher, started preparing her lessons with more meticulous care, anticipating her students' questions before they asked, realizing that structure could be a form of kindness. Charlotte, the nurse, stopped viewing efficiency as the enemy of care. She realized that by organizing her ward better, she gave her patients more dignity and safety. She started bringing in better food for them, remembering Uncle Lim. Olivia, at her bookshop, stopped just selling books. She began curating personalized lists for her customers, just as Mr. Tan had done for them. Months later, Eleanor saw a tourist looking lost in the London Underground. Usually, she would rush past, head down. Instead, she stopped. "Are you trying to get to the British Museum?" she asked efficiently. "Yes," the tourist said, relieved. "Follow me. I'm going that way." As she walked, she smiled. She didn't hug the stranger. She didn't tell them her life story. She just helped them get where they needed to go, safely and quickly. She had brought a piece of Singapore back with her. For while the British might have their banter and pub culture, and other nations their hugs and kisses, the three friends now knew that there was another, equally powerful form of love. The love of the Lion City. A love that doesn't shout, doesn't impose, and doesn't demand attention. A love that is found in the perfect temperature of a room, the safety of a midnight walk, the silent helping hand, and the question, "Have you eaten?" They had gone looking for soul in the noise, but found it in the silence of perfect care. And that, they realized, was the most unbelievable thing of all.